This is Mikey Mason, and you're listening to Why We Game.
I'm Brodor, and this is Why We Game. This episode's guest is Lynn Potyen of the GenCon, owner, operator, queen of the GenCon, if I recall the title correctly, from my, as I tell every guest, light cyber stalking. Lynn, how are you today?
I am good. How are you?
Well, I have to be completely forthright. And the listener should know this, and they should know a couple things. One, I'm going to be on my best behavior today for two reasons. We're recording in your current location, but not your new location that you're moving to, which is spectacular, by the way. I have so much retailer envy. It's crazy. But the other thing
retailer envy on myself.
I have, and I'm pretty sure that your husband's aware of this. I have a huge crush on you. I have always had a huge crush on you.
I love that. Yeah. It makes me so happy.
No,
it really does.
It's true. It's true. Any which way. Okay, so my embarrassment out of the way. Lynn, you've been a retailer since 2006, is that right?
Yeah. 2006.
Now, I'm going to circle back to this because it says a lot about your personality, and it really gave me some tremendous insight. Prior to that, you were a cosmetics professional.
Yeah, I was a cosmetologist.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. See,
we got to start further than that, though.
Okay. All right, please. The floor is yours.
So in high school, my mom thought I should learn how to cut hair. So she had her hairdresser teach me how to cut hair. And I really am an artist, and sculpting is my thing. And hair and garden, they're all about the same thing. They're just sculptures. And so I learned how to sculpt hair. And I did that all through college. It actually helped give me pocket change. And then I went to college for acting, so I have a degree in Shakespearean theater. And I did not go on for my master's program because my father died my senior year of college in the last semester before I graduated. And it was devastating, and I decided I was going to go home. I was going to kind of regroup. I decided to get my cosmetology licensing, so I went and I actually took classes, and I got the degree. And I met this crazy guy, and we ended up getting married, and I never went on to do theater or anything, but I did hair to keep us, to keep us in money. And then we had our first child and moved to Wisconsin. And when that was the catalyst right there, was when Eric was born, everything was great. But when we moved, he was 9 months old, and he had, he moved from one state to another state. And parents don't realize this, but when you move your child across state lines, they're also open to more diseases and more disease factors. And being a brand new parent, I didn't know that. And so we just jumped gung-ho into new friends and took our kids out and did all these things with them. And my child ended up getting a severe ear infection, and we did not know it for months and months and months. He's one of these kids who never runs a fever, doesn't show any pain. I have 3 children like that who've done that same thing, but I did not realize it because this is my first, right? And so by the time we realized that he has this really bad, severe ear infection, he has already lost a huge portion of where he would have learned how to speak. And so he has a pretty severe speech delay. And so that's how this whole thing kind of starts. And so until he's 4, I'm just a stay-at-home mom. I have 2 other children. I'm happy to just be a stay-at-home mom and hang out with my kids. And then we get him diagnosed and find out that he has bad speech delay. And I had an occupational therapist and a speech therapist who were working with him. And they said, well, we've got these games that we play with him for his therapy sessions. So I would sit there and I would witness what was going on. They were all like your traditional things you find in big box stores. And they would play with him and he would perform because he had an audience. But then they would say, here, take this over the weekend and play with him. He really likes this game. He'll play it. And I'd take it home and he would completely ignore me because it wasn't engaging for him. So my husband and I went to this little convention that summer down the road, about 50 miles in Milwaukee called GenCon.
Now, that was actually on my agenda. I pulled up a map of Sheboygan to Geneva because I was curious right along there on Lake Michigan how long it would take. Oh, so envious. God, in the glory days.
Right?
Oh.
So we go to GenCon, and we've just had our third child, and so I've got this tiny little infant with me, and my husband's big into D&D and miniatures and stuff like that, so he was wandering booth to booth to booth looking at all this stuff, and I was bored out of my mind, so I turned around and I started looking at board games, because there were board games at some of these booths, and I played Life, Monopoly, Candyland, Twister. I was a traditional 1960s, born child who grew up with all the traditional things. But when it came to the 70s and I wanted to play D&D, I had every friend that I asked said, "Oh, you can't because you're a girl. You're a girl. Girls don't play this game. Only boys do." And I had a lot of boys who were friends, and they were like, "No." So I was disappointed. And so I'd spent many years being disappointed, wanting to play dragons and, all this stuff, but I wasn't allowed to. I had that happen twice, once in high school and once in college. So same, different people, but the same statement being said. And once you're said it a couple times, you just kind of stop listening. You're just like, oh, okay. So I went to GenCon with my husband and our little one, and I was looking at all these different games, and I was at this booth by Playroom Entertainment, and there were these sweet little boxed games. They were like $10 a piece, and they were just kid, toddler, interactive games, but every one of them was logic-driven, decision-making. They were just incredibly involved. There was no luck. It was all, you're going to be critically thinking through this game, and I fell in love. And so I thought, well, I'm going to buy them. And it was 4 games. It was a sale for $30. And I remember thinking to myself, my husband's going to kill me. I'm spending $30 on toddler games. He's not going to be happy. And he saw the games and he was like, oh, no, those are cool. Yay for me. So we took them home, and Eric and Rachel just loved them. They ate them up. They played them all the time, and they interacted with us. And they were interesting for us as adults to play, which was the piece I was looking for, right? Because I'd go to speech therapy and it wasn't engaging for adults, but I'd play these things and I wanted to continue playing. So this progresses for many years. We go to GenCon, we buy games, I bring them home, the kids play, we have a great time. And over the course of this time, he would talk about all the games with his speech therapist and his physical therapist, and they said, well, where are you getting these games? So I'd bring them in and I'd show them, and the teachers would engage, and they'd try out the games and they'd bring them into the classroom. And I worked in the school as the volunteer coordinator during this time period. And so I thought, let's have a game night. And so I made this entire game night, and I got parents to come and run all these different games, and I brought in all these games. And I had a local store that I said, if I tell all these people to go, will you have the games for them? Oh, yeah, sure. It never panned out. The local store didn't do anything. And so I continued probably for 3 years. And finally, when Eric is 10, so it's now 2006, my husband says, you do know you have a business, right? And I'm like, what? No, I'm not. And there was no way in hell I wanted to run a business. And he said, well, let's do it. So I started a business, and that is how it started, was because I'd been doing it all those years, selling people games, but they were going to another place and buying them. And yeah, I just realized I could do this better. And here we now are in, we've made it through 2 recessions and a pandemic, and we bought a new building this year. I mean, we own the building we're in, but we're now going to sell this one. We're going to move into the new building, and we're super excited about it.
I'm sorry. Let's back up. As a former retailer, there's a lot to unpack there. As a guy who grew up gaming, there's a lot to unpack there. But I want to start with, you own your building?
I own my building, yeah.
Okay, now, yeah. And you have more experience in the hobby industry than I do, but I've got a little bit under my belt. That's not common.
No, it's not. It's very unusual. And to be fair, this first building, my husband and I did on our own. We did it together as United Front. Like, we bought this. But my point to him was the building is something that we could buy, but it's my gift to use so that, you know, if I had been working all these years instead of staying at home with our kids, I would have had all this income. So instead, when our house's income had raised right before the recession, we took that equity out, bought the new building. The market crashed. We still had the building and our house. So it all worked out really well. But the money that went into this building is my money now to move into the next building. And so that's what we've done.
Did you buy the new building?
Uh-huh. I have a mortgage on it.
That kick-ass former jewelry store with, oh, sorry, I used potty language. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, that really beautiful building. I mean, it looks like, and is almost named after some, Harry Potter-verse bank.
It does. Yeah. The building was built 150 years ago in 1870. It was a mercantile at the time. And then 50 years later, they decided they were going to revamp the interiors. So they spent a lot of money. And Sheboygan, which is where we're at in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, it was a big wood industries here. So they made chairs and they did custom cabinetry. So they made these custom cabinets. The ceilings are 15 feet high. These cabinets are like 10 feet high and 10 feet long, each of them. And there's 6 of them built into the walls, and in between each one is about a 3 foot deep and 3 feet wide marble inlaid alcove in the middle of each of these. And it's all in dark mahoganies. It's gorgeous. It is just to die for. The building is in excellent condition, and my husband and I and our son have been working our tails off since November, doing all the demolitions and all the stuff to get it ready. And my staff has been amazing, helping keep the store going on this end. Well, I do many things over there, and then I come over here and I do other things here. And yeah, it's been a wonderful experience, but we can't wait. It still feels like a dream. I've been looking for a new building for so many years. When we opened in 2006 and then the recession and everything else, we actually came back pretty strong, but we weren't big enough. Like, we had literally only 1,000 square feet. There was no back room, no basement, no anything else. It was literally 1,000 square feet. And that includes the bathroom, the back room, the furnace room. So we're getting a lot smaller here. And so we've done a lot with our small building, but the sales floor of this new space is going to be 2,000 square feet. We also get an office and a kitchenette. And then there's a whole basement about the same size that is our storage and our online. We have an online shopping portal, so we have places to do all of our shipping and handling through. So it's just like so much bigger than it was. Those two, the basement and the first floor, will be finished when we open in June. But the second floor is our next space. We have to still do build out on that. That'll be our play space eventually. But right now, pandemic wise, there's no play space anyway. So we're pretty much just going to fix it slowly.
That is amazing, because to me, you are making the ideal game store, right? Everything having its department. This is where you pay. This is where you play. This is where we store and ship. Oh, so amazing.
Yeah.
Your retail space is 2,000 square feet. So I'm assuming, is that mirrored in the basement and the second floor?
Mirrored on the basement, but not the second floor.
Gotcha.
The second floor is only about 1,000 square feet. So the play space we had here, minus all the stuff, will actually make more space for us up there. But we'll have 2 private play spaces, hopefully, when we're done, and a paint area, and then a gaming area for us. So.
Well, I can tell you, when my state gets its act together and I'm able to get a vaccine and people are traveling again, I definitely want to come and see the new store and talk to you, and I don't know, maybe take you guys out for dinner or something. But
that would be awesome.
Yeah, but
I can't wait to have people come visit this new place.
Right, well, just the pictures that I have seen on the internet, right? Just with what it was prior to being a game store. Well, the other thing that makes me think about is that looking at your game store, your store design, it is very different than a lot of what people would consider a traditional game store. Now, I would contend, in my experience, what you have is where the industry is going and where the industry is kind of headed toward making nicer, better, more open, better lit, cleaner. But I am going to wager that day one, 8 o'clock in 2006, that your store probably looked something like that and did not look akin to other game stores that you saw. So how much research did you go into what other retailers were doing, what your market looked like, and what you wanted to do? Because in your words, I know I can do this better.
Well, I have to be honest, in 2006, I just knew I could do it better, but my whole experience had been in retail for hair. So I knew that as far as I was concerned, I wasn't going to ever lay back in a bowl and put my head back and get my hair washed in a place that was grungy and dirty, or go into a bathroom if it was not pretty. So I knew it had to be pretty, it had to be nice. And that's kind of been our thing, is just making it family friendly and making it approachable and making it be a place where I would bring my family and they would learn how to play here and they'd be comfortable. And that was our huge piece. And now that my kids have all grown up, and, they're all in college or finishing up the last few years of college, like this new building, when it went on the market, I actually took my youngest son, Alex, with me. So Eric's the one with the speech delay, but Alex is the one still at home. And I said to Alex, you need to come look at this building and talk me out of it. And he's like, okay. So we went in there, and I knew within maybe 5 feet of him walking in that building that he was in no way, shape, or form going to be able to talk me out of it. He just went, oh my God, we have to buy this. And I was like, no, you're supposed to say no. This is terrible. but he looked at it from the logical standpoint of a 20-year-old young man. And he said, this is, like you said earlier, that whole Harry Potter feel. That's what I got in there. When I walked in there, it reminded me of the Walt Disney Harry Potter, not Walt Disney, Universal Studios, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Universal Studios Harry Potter exhibit. When you go in and the wand is going to choose you. That was what I walked in there, and I was like, oh, this building just chose me. Oh my God. Oh, holy cow, we're in trouble. We are so in trouble, but it's been wonderful. And our biggest goal in this building is to stay with that early 1900s Victorian feel, and we're integrating steampunk. So we're going totally steampunk with everything. We're keeping all the cabinetry the way it is. We're just enhancing more of it. They'd added things in over the years, like they'd added lighting into the front windows that was just junk 1970s lighting, right? Because that's what they had. We've become better at that. And we can now put LED lighting in beautiful sconces that come down and look like steampunk sconces. And so that is all going into our front windows so that you have the feel from the very moment you walk up to the building. You go, ooh, I want to go in there. I don't even care what they sell. Let's just go in. Go see what's in there. And once you come inside, we'll find you something that you want to own.
The thing is, and I don't know, and I don't mean this to sound pointed, because it's not, but the thing is, why you were successful at being a hairdresser and why you're successful at being a retailer is you're not selling a hairstyle, you're not selling board games, you're selling an experience, right? You have that charm, the gift, the gab, etc. I think that regardless of what you wanted to sell, you would be successful. You just happen to fall into something that you're passionate about, which people have got to be envious.
So funny that you say that, because that all goes through my head every once in a while, and I think, am I right? But I'm 54 years old. Like, I'm not going to be able to gift to gab this for too long, right? I want something else to stand.
I absolutely disagree. I think that you can have whatever style throne or rocking chair you want in that store. Now I'm thinking, cause it's Midwestern, it's Wisconsin. I mean, the heartland of gaming. So I'm thinking like a classic sort of, Brothers Grimm matronly grandmotherly figure with like fatally sharp knitting needles that, yeah, that's what I want. Somebody,
That's awesome.
yeah, so just adorable and kind, but there is just a brutally bitter edge to it. Yeah. That's what I want.
I'll have to take up knitting.
Yeah. Well, get a cat that you keep in your lap. So you've got the Afghan that you've knitted across your legs. Your cat is there. Yeah, no, I think for sure you could do that. You'd be there with your grandkids running the shop. That'd be amazing.
I'm all about the metal dice instead.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll get you a slingshot for them.
Well, and my husband and I, this is totally not have to do with the game store, but my husband and I met doing reenacting. So 18th century reenacting, so Revolutionary War. So I am kind of a kill shot with a tomahawk. So this granny would carry a tomahawk.
You could move to Panama and you could do a traveling show. No kidding. So my dad and his third wife moved to Panama to retire, extradition or something. Any which way, the Panamanians have a very common, prejudice isn't the right word, an assumption that everyone from North America, whether they be native or Caucasian, can throw a tomahawk with lethal efficiency. That's just something they believe. It's crazy. It's just this myth.
That's hysterical.
So you could go there as this beautiful Caucasian woman with silver hair. I'm telling you, I will build, Lynn, whatever legend you want me to build for you, I will do it. And I'm sober. Under the influence of intoxicants, I could really make this crazy. But you mentioned earlier that you have an online shopping portal.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the traditional brick and mortar retailers have an apprehension to online sales for a number of reasons. And so with Shopify, I just wanted to ask you, for the listeners that I have that are retailers who aren't doing online sales that want to, what do you think of Shopify and what does it do for your business?
Well, we started Shopify because we realized in May that if we were going to make this happen and something bad happened here in Wisconsin again, that we were going to need to have a way to get the product out to customers. So we started really working on that, just making decisions June and July, and then starting it up in August. I actually was really lucky because I had my two sons were still home from college, and one of them doing computer programming, and the other one doesn't mind data entry. So the two of them just sat here and hammered out the thing. And then my staff member, my manager, Caitlin, she has been amazing because she has just completely taken the ball and run with it. It has become her baby. So she's all about importing product and putting it out on her website and just maintaining it. You definitely need to have somebody who's willing to be the point person on your online, to take control of your online portal, because it just doesn't work by itself. You have to actively work on it. If I didn't have somebody to do that, it would be really tough. As a single sole proprietor, I would be miserable doing that and trying to run a store and try to keep a happy point, and build out a building and, and all this other stuff that was going on. So it's definitely a positive. And for us, I don't see it as a positive as in, oh my God, we're making so many great sales. I see it as a positive as every one of my customers, when they leave, now they can go home and they can still shop, even when we're closed. They may not put it into their cart, but they're going to come back in tomorrow and they're going to buy something now because they saw it. And they were able to investigate everything in our store and share it out. They could share it with somebody else and be like, hey, I saw you wanted this game. Look, the game board has it. Here's their link. So for that alone, it's been humongous. It's definitely helped our sales. We've seen a lot of stuff really go. Things that sold that a couple things we'd had for 2 years sitting on our shelf. And I was just like, probably time to put that on a sale. Nope. It went online and it did great. So I do think that having the online portal is a huge benefit. And I am number one to say that I dragged my feet all the way to the finish line there. COVID, that's the one thing COVID did nice for me, was they gave me that instigation and said, just do it. Shoved me off the cliff. I'm all about the face-to-face like you are, right? I'm all about that interacting with my customers. And to me, this felt like I was sending them out in somewhere else. And honestly, I don't think it is. Like, I think at the end of the day, they're shopping there because of me or because of my employees or because of what we stand for. So they're still coming here because of our message.
And I'm going to sound like an old person, but are we losing that? Like, and again, I don't know, maybe it's because customer facing work is all I've ever done. Maybe it's just because I too have the gift for gab, but I feel like as I have aged, customer service has just worsened and worsened and worsened. And now I can't get people to say hello when I walk into a store. I can't get people to say goodbye. I can't get people to look me in the eyes. Effectively, I'm a house husband. It's pretty cool. But I mean, living off savings, really. But I was at Target today, and the young woman to whom I spoke was super helpful and made eye contact, and she was great. I was stunned. I was like, this is so rare now.
I think that's one of the things that we do best is because we're still making the eye contact. We're still having the conversation. We're still interacting. And because we do it so hard and because we really push that envelope, we feel like we see our customers come back and they're like, oh, you care. Like, you're listening to me. You're hearing me. During the first few months of us being shut down, one of the things we did was when we didn't see customers coming in that we knew we were interacting with, we were hearing them online, we'd call them and ask them, like, is there something you need? Can we bring something to you? Are you doing okay? How are you feeling? And there were a couple times they were like, hi, yeah, like, hey, okay, sure, yeah. And we're like, no, we weren't calling to sell you anything. We just wanted to know, are you okay? And there was this moment where they just went, holy cow, thank you. Like, just thank you. But that's kind of what we've always been known for is, we're all about get to know what we're doing, right? Who we are and what we're about. So that's our big thing.
As a retailer, something that you do that is entirely unique. And I remember the first time hearing about it, I was, it might have been my first time to the Gamma Expo back when it was in Vegas. And my boss, Dave Wallace, who I've interviewed on the show, he said, hey, there's this woman, Lynn, you've got to go see her presentation. She's going to talk about something that she does that is really, really amazing and unique. And I want to get your thoughts on it. And you talked about your board game rental program. So not only do you advocate board games as a fan and advocate them as an educational and learning development tool, but you also rent them to people?
Yeah. Okay. Well, pre-COVID, yes.
Sure. So
during COVID, no.
How does your system work?
Well, we believe that if customers are going to try a game, it's the sample concept, right? You go into a store and you see a brand new bottle of wine. Are you going to spend $20 on a bottle of wine you know nothing about? Even though it says like, ooh, it has hints of raspberry and an after, right? No, you still don't know what does it really taste like. So there's samplers, and there's people who sit in the grocery store and they sample a drink or a food item to you. And we realized we needed to sample our games. And so our customers were coming in and like, you can't there's no way to sample a game. Like, I could show you a demo. It still isn't the same thing because you're just one person. You're actually going to take it home to like 4 people. You can't sample the 4 people when you're not there. So what we really wanted to do was bring the sampling to your home so that you could have that experience and you could show your friends how to enjoy what you enjoyed. So we started renting out our games, and we rented them for 10% of the cost of the game. So $50 game with $5 to rent it overnight. And then when you returned it, if you bought the game, you got the $5 towards your purchase price. If you didn't, it was only $5. And we started doing this in 2009. It is now globally followed. We have retailers around the world who pay me to get the program. And we have documentation. We have all how to run it. We do lawyer drawn up documents. So we have the application, and everything is in this little packet, and you buy it. And then then you have access to me too. Like, hey, I have a question. How did this work? Did I do this wrong? It's all there. It's written out. And we've been doing this, like I said, since 2009, and it's been wonderful. And I will tell you that during COVID, so many people stopped in and said, I want to rent a game. And we said, sorry, there's no rentals. We've closed that because of COVID. And they're like, I have to buy something. Hold on a minute. And suddenly they were buying and buying and buying. So renting primed the pump. And a lot of people tried things that they never would have bought, but I still made money on them testing it. And they always came back and bought anyways. But now there were new people coming in saying, well, we've heard about this and we wanted to try something, but okay, we'll take the chance. We'll just buy something. And it's really gone in both ways. It's helped us in both ways. Will I go back to renting again? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's a very valuable tool. I think it opens up freedom for my staff too. Like, it's not up to us now. It's a sales tool. It's not up to us to demo a game and try to pitch it to you and hardcore sell it to you in the next 5 minutes. Instead, what I've said is, I believe that you're going to like this so much, take it home. And when you bring it back, then we'll have, and yes, there's a document they have to sign, and there's, lawyer drawn up write-ups and everything that if you don't return it, yes, we own you, your firstborn child in your house, whatever. But, at the end of the day, it is a rather inexpensive way to test out your games and make sure people love them. And when because not every great game is loved by everybody, right? I mean, I can give Settlers to Catan to everybody who walks through the door, and not everybody is going to want to own Settlers to Catan. Are you looking for it?
No. I was looking for the card game Elysium from Space Cowboy. I'm always so surprised that game did not take off. For me, it just clicked. I love it. It's like the movie The Prestige. For some reason, it has a great place of reverence in my heart. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And there are games out there that I think are wretched that are highly rated. So
here's an interesting thing, right? Is every person is either judging a game based on the cover, or they're basing it on something they read online. But there really wasn't an in-between. Like, you either had to read about it and understand the language, and there's a language barrier in our industry. There's a huge language barrier. That's one of my biggest complaints about this industry is a everyday regular person like myself can't pick up a game, read the directions, and be able to explain it because I don't have all the vocabulary. Even after 14 years of being in this industry, there's still vocabulary I'm still learning. That as a young white man, you grew up playing those games from childhood, and you were encouraged to play D&D and those things, and I wasn't. So I've been denied those languages, and I've been given barriers. And so there's all these people out there who were denied, and they, not because anybody was being mean, but because they just didn't think anybody would want to do, like, you're not like me, so why would you want to play? Since COVID, we have had a huge uptick in our LGBTQ diverse unified community coming in and playing board games and buying games and puzzles. What a huge thing, right? That's another, right? We didn't realize we were being the wrong kind of a gatekeeper. The gatekeeper's supposed to keep the gates open and invite people in. Instead, we have the gatekeepers who are closing the doors and keeping people out. And we don't want that. Right. We want more people coming in.
And maybe this is just my observation. There's no science or poll to back this up. But as somebody with over 15 years of retail experience and many more years of convention and gaming experience, it seems to me that there are more people in the LGBTQ plus community than there are communities of color that game.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. Though I do have a large proportion of people of color in my store. We have a very diverse, actually it's the Asian population and Hispanic population. So, we are growing in our, I don't know which is more politically correct these days. Black African American community or people of color or brown community. There is a growing populace there, and they are finding that they love games too. And it's so wonderful to educate and to encourage their growth and their encouragement and their journey, because they weren't encouraged as children to go and play that kind of a game. And stimulation that happens when you're playing a game, that socialization is just amazing. And we've kind of kept it a secret, and that's not cool. We can't keep those things a secret. You know, it's so much better. Our teachers are very, very, very involved with their students, right? And they all want them to play and to engage. And the best way to get kids involved and be good sports is to play. That's how people get better. And that's play on the playground, that's play in the gym, and that's play at the tabletop. So they're all forms of that.
Well, and I think that a valuable lesson, especially for young people, which is something that, you know, I'm not trying to be pouty, but it's definitely a lesson that I did not learn until I was an adult, was do it again. When you do music, when you play sports, when you play games, when we're playing Settlers of Catan and I continue to play and lose, the important part is that I am learning, I'm paying attention, I'm trying to adapt, and I'm going to do it again until I get it right and improve at the thing. That's something that gaming provides the opportunity for, that a lot of other performance arts do as well, that, you know, I think is important for people's development. Yeah,
no, I agree.
I want to shift over to the Game Manufacturers Association. For in 2015, for about 20 minutes, I was on the retailer board with you. But I want to talk about GAMA now. You have been a member since when?
I joined immediately in 2006.
Okay. So right away.
Yeah.
So why did you, well, actually, let me take a step back. How did you hear about GAMA?
I had a amazing situation that happened. When I was trying to start the store, I had a fellow game store owner who took me under his wing and helped give me guidance. So I knew to go to like the ACD show and the Alliance show and things like that. So I went to those different things, and he encouraged me to join GAMA right away. And so I felt it was an investment. I've always felt that joining like our Chamber of Commerce, our, you know, GAMA, those things, I feel like that is a very small investment that I can make back into my own business to make sure that we are getting a good education and our staff is making a good education. So that's how I joined.
What do you think? And this is going to be a lot to dig into, right? But as a retailer, you sought them out right away. What do you find is the value of being a member of the organization? And you've been so for many years now. What do you find is valuable for you, for your business, for the industry in the organization?
Wow.
Because the show, right? like, I'm not trying to throw you a life preserver, but the show.
No.
Yeah, the show's the reason to go, right? Like going and seeing other retailers and seeing publishers and seeing distributors and kind of it being the insider thing is super cool.
Yeah, and it's what, like $125 for a retailer to join?
Right.
Like, to me, that $125 is nothing. It's nothing that I get to have a voice at that table. And now I have a reason to go in and tell them, I have this idea. I would like to make this suggestion and, oh, I'm a member of Gamma. Would you like to listen to me? Okay, great. You're a member of Gamma. You're going to respect my opinion. And I likewise am going to participate in this thing with you because we're both members of the same group. So I think that's kind of how it started, was like for $125, it bought me some certification to feel like I earned my right to be there. Right. And then I went, I sat through all the seminars. I didn't go to Gamma, the original show, for years. I didn't go. I couldn't figure out how to make the amount of money that I need to spend to go to Gamma worthy of me going. Once again, though, we started in 2006, and in 2008 we had a recession, and I opened October of 2006, so we're barely open before it's 2007. So, I mean, really, we were only open for a year and a few months when, we got hit. And there was no financial backing to help people out. It was like, you keep going. We'll see you later. We'll come back around with the train in a minute. Right. Hold on,
Yeah, I mean,
it wasn't like...
If you want to have a conversation about borrowing money from our foreign overlords to support this boondoggle, I can, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah. So that was it took me a couple of years. And then finally I had a conversation with somebody and they said, you really need to go. You need to go and have the experience. So I got my ticket and I went there and I just threw myself into everything. I listened to all the meetings. I met with all the people. I walked past Dave Wallace numerous times sitting outside and was like, that guy looks important and I should get to know him and I should probably talk to him at some point. All that happened in my head. What people don't understand is Gamma's 5 days long and it starts at 7 in the morning and goes till 1 in the morning. It just doesn't end. You get that little 6-hour window where you throw yourself into a bed and hope that the shower's going to wake you enough before you start all over again, because meetings start at breakfast and go through to the end of days here. So, there's a lot to process. So I took lots of notes and I went and I came out of it. And one of the things that I realized was I knew more than I thought I did. And that was something my husband said to me one of the first shows we were at. He said, you know what I learned when we sat in there? And I said, what? And he said, you already know that. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Oh, I do know that. That's really cool. I'm not as far behind as I think I am in this industry. Running at it going, I don't know anything about games. And instead I should have been running at it saying, I know about business. Hold on. So from that perspective, I learned a ton. And I will say that my experience has been going forward that going to Gamma, in Vegas when it was there and now in Reno, it is worth every penny. It's an investment, but it's worth every penny because you get to sit down and interact with people who are retailers, publishers, manufacturers, distributors, designers, all these really important people who are making all those things on the shelf behind you, right? You're meeting all those people and you're seeing what they think when they put that whole thing together. And if you take the time to really interact with them and then say to them, hey, want to go get a cup of coffee? I'd really like to pick your brain more. Most of them will say, yes, it's that easy. To say, can we go continue this conversation outside? I've learned so much because of those conversations. And I've learned also that I can't get through the floor because I'm constantly stopping and having another interaction with another person. It's not just about finding a good game. It's about finding a good game that is supported by good people and that is going to have people who have the ideas that I do, that board games and card games are beneficial and that there's a psychological and social and physical reason for playing games and that there's things that better come out of that. Here in Sheboygan, I was called up a number of years ago and asked by the Dementia Care Network to come to a meeting. And I was like, okay, I'll go to Dementia Care Network. I don't know what this is. And I was feeling very pleased with myself, right? And I went in and they were like, we're so glad you're here. You're joining us. And I'm like, okay, I'm joining you for the meeting. And they're like, no, you're joining our committee. You're joining. And I was like, Okay.
They
I guess
conscripted you?
Right, they did. They totally did. And I was like, what is this? And they were like, we work to try and better the people of Sheboygan who are dealing with Alzheimer's and all the different dementias. And I realized it was brain health. And that's all I'd been working on was brain health. And it's not as sexy and pretty sounding, brain health. Ooh, but that's literally what speech delays are. That's what living issues are. That's what socialization is. That's like critical thinking. It's all of this is brain health. Like we're so one thing, we exercise and we eat right, but how many times do we take that beautiful brain out for a spin and treat it with the dignity and respect it deserves?
I would say, and it looks like you're in the back room, so I'm going to go ahead and make this joke. I would say that's called LSD. And that's what I don't have children, so I can do that kind of stuff.
And to be fair, I had to go into the back room because we had too many customers coming in, and I couldn't have my mask off. So.
Oh, sure. No, that's great. That's great. It's funny. The last time I did an interview with a retailer that was in their back room, their lights kept going off too. Yeah. Right.
It's like, oh shoot, I've got to tell it that I'm still here.
No, it's absolutely fine. So you were
usually I'm planted on a ladder, but I didn't have enough time to get that set up. So.
Not only are you a member of Gamma and an advocate for the organization, in which, I would love to do a whole episode just with the people of Gamma and the organization and why it brings value, because I agree. I remember my speech when I got nominated. I remember just saying very, very briefly who I was, what store I worked for, that I was Dave's protege, and that Gamma made me a better retailer, and I want Gamma to make you a better retailer. And it's true.
Yes.
Yeah, Gamma made me a better retailer. Now, I had the benefit of being tutored by one of the oldest guys in the game, but I think
But also, wait. But an important piece there. Dave is ahead of his time.
Was.
He really was.
I love Dave. I shouldn't crap on him. It's mean. But yeah, no, Dave, forward thinking.
But he was. Yeah, he was ahead of his time when I joined. Like, he really had a different way of looking at things. And he really, he taught a lot of us. And now, have you met Gary Ray?
I have not.
Gary Ray took a lot of that and then added to it and then, brought it further forward. Like, he's brought it another 10 years. Like, when we get all these really good retailers together and we hear them and we learn from them, like, it's amazing what you can walk away from. Like, there's so many great retailers out there who have been playing the struggle game, right? And for most of them, you'll hear that if they've been in the business for the last 14 years or so, that at some point, Dave Wallace was one of the first people they heard, and then they went, okay, we're on the right path. We're just going to keep going. And they just shot ahead over there. Right. So, I think that's what's so awesome about Gamma is that we have so many retailers all coming together and sharing our information. And you don't have to agree with us. You don't have to agree with everything we say. You can agree with just 1%. As long as you take something away, you're learning and you're going to move yourself forward. And maybe next year you'll want to share some of the knowledge you had.
I would say that not just for retailers, but for publishers, for game designers, every opportunity that you have at that show. Imagine being somebody who wants to break into the industry and you go to GenCon and you try to talk to people about they don't have the time or the inclination.
Right.
And that's not the place for that. And where those people are doing business, just like the politicians do on the golf course, those people, that's at the bar after hours, right? That's where the business is getting done. But if you really are interested in being part of the industry in any facet, I think that the cost of joining Gamma, it's not much more expensive and in some cases less than going to GenCon or other conventions. I think it's very worthwhile.
Yeah, no, totally. And GenCon, for the audience who doesn't know this, is consumer facing and Gamma is industry facing. And so it's a professionals conference. Like, people who play games can't go to Gamma. This is literally just industry professionals doing business for 5 solid days, which for some cases we do play some games, but mostly we're making decisions on what games we're going to be seeing over the course of the next year, right? And we have to make decisions based on the artwork, or is this the final product? Because if this is the final product, I can't put that in my store, and this is the reason why. If you can change that before it goes to print, we can maybe bring this in. Well, what did you mean? Oh, well, hey, that's not appropriate anymore.
Right. Let's just talk about you, not as a professional, but you as a gamer. What are the kind of things that, and I'm going to guess just based on the pictures of your store and your background, that board gaming is your probably your top tier of the hobby. What kind of games do you find most intriguing or most entertaining?
So here's something fun and intriguing about Lynn. Married in 92, my husband and I decided to join a RPG group. So I played, I can't remember the name of it. Oh, they're going to kill me because I have this perfect time to say the name of their game, and they'll be like, thanks a lot. The networking one, RPG. It's been out there for a long time. Shadowrun. So I did Shadowrun. So I did that for probably like a year. I played Shadowrun. And then right after that, my brother-in-law had this brand new card game he'd heard about. He'd been playing it for like a year at that point. And he came to my husband and I, and he's like, you guys should play this. And so we bought a couple decks and we tried this brand new game called Magic the Gathering. People, when they look at me, they just assume I don't play, right? Those kinds of things. And so I love to be able to bring that up because nobody else can see this, but you can see.
No, that's early old school. Wow.
These are my decks.
That's amazing. That's amazing. See,
yeah.
Now I am at least wise enough in these days, man. When I walk into a game store, I don't make an assumption about anybody. I walk into a con, I do not make an assumption about anybody because you just don't know.
Right. Well, and I do. I get a lot of people say, "Oh, well, you just play. You don't know anything." And I'm like I've been playing Magic since '95. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, see, okay. Yeah. Let's get into that because I obviously, I mean, I've got my blind spots, and I'll admit that I have my blind spots, and I certainly will concede that people can have an experience different than me. But it's 2000. I mean, it's the 21st century. How?
Yeah. Well, that's your retailer. Your listeners can't see me because this is a podcast. So I'm 54 years old with absolutely white, naturally white hair, like that went white when my dad died. Beautifully done.
Thank you. Makeup on point. Yeah. No,
yeah. So totally, I am on point. Thank you. I'll just sit here and enjoy that for a second. But I'm not your traditional looking game store person, right? I'm your traditional mother of a soccer student or something.
Adorable Wisconsin mom, like
yeah.
Marshall from How I Met Your Mother. Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. So when people come in and they're like, oh, you don't know anything about Magic. Well, true. Today's Magic, yes, I've played Kaldheim. I mean, I'm looking forward to Strixhaven. Holy cow, I can't wait. But like I will draft and then I will put that deck away and I will not touch it again. That's my thing. Because to me it became chemistry and too many chemicals. It became too much of this chemistry thing. Like, oh, I could do this to this, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, I don't have enough time. I got to raise children, run a business, make my husband happy, make dinner tonight. Like I don't have time to be like thinking about that too. So board games became more my thing for sure after that. And like I'll play Seven Wonders and Small World and, all the things that are on your shelf behind you. I love all those games, but some of my faves are those fast and furious ones like Jungle Speed and Looney Labs, their Monty Python Flux or, I really love Ticket to Ride and Catan. And I play a mean game of Sagrada. So, I am all over the board.
Don't get me wrong. I like Sagrada. I really do. It's a very well-designed game. I would rather play Azul because the die number, the pips with the colors and the spaces, I'm like, I do not have the IQ to play this game. I do not have the cognitive capacity. I need something where it's a little bit less cerebral.
And that's so funny because we worked so hard with our son, Eric, that he has become this incredibly cerebral game thinker. And you put a game down in front of him that's something new and really involved and, kitschy and like it's going to have all these moving parts. And he is just like, he's got it figured out all the way to the win.
Wow.
Boom, like that. But me, if it gets into too much chess chemistry, I just kind of go, oh, okay, I'm out.
Do you guys have a family favorite? Do you have one that, you break out with regularity?
Yeah, it depends on who's home because we have there's 5 of us, but Alex is at home. When Alex is at home, what are we playing right now? Hold on a second. I'm going to walk with you.
Oh, right on.
Because the other thing I'm really bad at is names of games. I have to look at them to be able to remember. Okay, so Alex's and our family's, one of our favorite ones right now is Ringmaster. Do you know this one?
I don't. I'm familiar with the cover, but I haven't played.
Yeah, it's really good. Like it's got a solid base. And honestly, because there's just the 3 of us, it's fast, it's furious. And we get it done. Obviously, we talked about Sagrada. This is the one they refuse to play with me because for whatever reason, I seem to always win. Machikoro.
Mm-hmm.
They refuse to play with me. Oh my gosh, one of our favorites. And I have to bite my tongue on this one because I hated the idea of this game. And then my husband made me play it. Ecos, First Continent. Holy cow. That is a solid game. That is a beast.
Your shelves are beautiful.
Well, thank you. This is our store now.
Right. Oh, now I looked at all the pictures on Facebook for sure. You guys, You've made such wonderful use of the space, though, because even with the less than 1,000, because you've got 1,000 square feet, but a variety of other accoutrements in the back, the actual sales floor space, it's really on. I don't say that lightly because, I don't publicly crap on people's game stores, but I will praise them publicly. That's really a very nice shop, Lynn.
Thank you. We are very proud of it. We've done a lot to make sure that we have everything going and like right here, this is like, you walk in, you see the Catans and the Ticket to Rides, and so you're landing on that front wall where everything.
All the wonderful co-op games. Do you guys have Atlantis Rising on your co-op stuff?
I don't. It's hard for some of these titles are hard to get right now.
I believe that. Well, just supply lines and everything else. And honestly, if I'm a Chinese manufacturer, I'm far more inclined to get higher priority things like PPE on the container ships and board games. So I get it.
Yeah.
My wife works for a pharmaceutical company, and they make one of the chemicals they make is phytocol, and phytocol is an important ingredient in the vaccine. So she's they're doing a lot of work. So
there's and you're right, that whole thing about the board games. Yeah, it's just tough to get stuff right now. It's really tough. So we're carrying what we can to make our customers happy. I'm not going to complain that people keep coming in, but
no, it's not a problem. It's not a problem at all. No, I think we're getting pretty close to wrapped up any which way. So Lynn, when are you guys going to open up your new location? You said June?
We're hoping by the end of June. That's what our contractors are working towards, is to get that up and ready. So we're putting in an ADA bathroom. There was no bathroom in the first floor of this building because, of course, it was built 150 years ago. There was no bathroom at all. There was a bathroom put into the basement at some point, and then that one was moved and a new one put into the basement under the stairs at some point, I would think in the 1970s somewhere. And then that's still there, and it's in pretty good condition. Like, it's fine. I would use it without a problem, but it's in the basement. Customers can't go down there. So we have to put an ADA bathroom on the first floor, and that's what our architect and our contractors are working on right now, is putting that up. And then when we thought my office could stay the way it was, but we found that there was water and termite damage in the walls that was old. So that had to be torn out and just cleaned up. So we're doing that and putting in a little kitchenette for for our employees. So we'll have a place to have snacks and drinks and stuff for ourselves, because obviously we're going to need it.
All right. Well, Lynn, if people want to find the game board online, it's just thegameboard.com.
It's the-gameboard.com.
The-gameboard. Okay, so I've got that pulled up on my screen. I omitted it like an unprofessional person. All right.
No, it's all good.
So, and then obviously your email is thegameboard without the dash at sbcglobal.net. And if people want to contact you, particularly about your rental program, that would be the place to catch you. Well, Lynn, I hope that everything with the move goes well for you. I'm super excited. It's a 6-hour drive. I can do that in my sleep and probably will. No, I'm kidding. But I hope that convention season happens this year. I hope that I get to see you and other retailers, and hopefully I can start doing more of these interviews and face to face. But it has been a delight to see you today. It's really nice to get to catch up. Heads
up.
What's that?
Heads up. We're a GenCon pop-up.
Are you really?
This is technically the third year.
Right.
But last year was broke. It was canceled.
Right.
So this is our second year of doing GenCon pop-up. We're one of the pop-up stores. So.
Well, that's super cool. Well, then I definitely.
And that should be in September in our new space.
Right. And I'm embarrassed that I don't have the answer to this question, but when did they move Origins to?
It's the week, I think, after.
I told my wife, I was like, hey, just so you're aware, I'm not going to be home during September. Just accept the fact that you know, and if you want to be single for them, fine, whatever. We've been together for 30 years. It's cool. I'm kidding. Well, Lynn,
your poor wife.
Oh no, she's a saint. She's just got terrible taste in men.
Oh, but she still married you.
She did. Well, that's a story to have over drinks, but man, I saw her, it was 1992. I was in art class. I was dating another woman at the time, who was my first very serious girlfriend. And I was in art class, and my serious girlfriend was the favored pupil of the art teacher. And I'm sitting at my desk with my buddy Sean, and this girl walks in with the ugliest jacket I have ever seen, like this Technicolor, hideous thing. And she was so beautiful in this ugly jacket, and I was like, I'm going to marry that girl. And I did.
That's amazing.
Yeah, no, I did. And here we are. We've been together since June of 92, so it'll be 29 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, we've been through it all. I've never been successful.
Well, August 1st, you can celebrate our 29th anniversary, because we got married in 92.
Well, congratulations to you too. Well, Lynn, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for giving us some insight about your business. I got to tell you, if you're interested in being a retailer and you want to see somebody doing it right, you should check out the Game Board.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, Lynn.
You're awesome.
Okay. You have a great day.
You too. Take care now. Bye.
Why We Game is a production of the Influence Foundation. All rights reserved. Audio editing by Brodor. Music by Owen Godwin.